Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our System presentation of 2015. My group Syntax Solutions and I will now demonstrate the app that we've been developing over the last month and a bit. Neil, would you like to take it away?
Thanks, Dylan. Morning, guys. I'm Neil Solanki, and as Dylan mentioned, this is Syntax Solutions, and today we're going to talk to you about Open Parking, which is an application which we developed for our systems development project for 2015. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to give you a brief team introduction, then the problem statement that was produced or presented to us by OpenBox, then I'm going to take you to the proposed solution that we created, and then the method by which we actually created this solution by using the system matrix, the 4 key objects, the PSN triangle, and basically the minimum viable product which we created for each sprint. After that, we'll talk about the business plan, which encapsulates the costs and the revenue. Then we have the Kickstarter. Which shows the video, the sprint retrospectives, which we're going to do at the end of which we did at the end of each sprint. Then for some exciting stuff, we'll show you the demonstration and the user. Okay, so firstly, we have Amanda, who's our lead designer. We have Laura, who's our lead analyst. Kiketso, who's our lead developer. Dylan, our product owner. Sipakazi, our lead quality assurer, and myself, who's the team lead. Okay, so this is the solution, the problem that OpenBox presented to us, which is basically that urban areas are faced with limited parking space. So if you go to a sporting event, if you go to a concert, it's very difficult to try and find parking. So that's the issue that we have, and this causes issues for the people who are trying to find these parking spaces. So the prevalent issues are that there's a lot of congestion in these venues because there's quite a few people coming in and out trying to find parking spaces. It's very difficult to actually try and be comfortable and park your car. And then the other issue is obviously limited parking space. Then some people actually have to park away from the destination, which is quite difficult, and then it's very inconvenient for these people because they have to walk up and down. And then obviously security issues because people are parking on pavements, they're parking far away where there's not much security. Okay, so my team and I, we designed the solution, which is a mobile application that will facilitate the communication between people who have available parking space. So this could be someone at their house, maybe they have a free garage, they have a pavement that they're willing to rent out, and then we have people who are actually looking for the parking space, which are the parkers and the people who want to rent these things. Okay, so how we actually came up with this proposed solution is basically the system matrix. So on the left-hand side here in bold, these are the metaphors that we used. So a metaphor basically is something that is an easy term to understand and we can explain our system. So firstly, we have paid parking. The reason why we selected this is because if you're renting out something, you want to get something back in return. So that's the reason why we selected it. Free parking space, regardless of the price, if there's a free parking space available, the person who's actually looking for it is going to take that parking spot. Global positioning system, that's for the navigation in the sense that if you book something, you want to find directions and find a way to navigate to that specific destination. Then we have the search engine. The search engine is there basically because the search engine is there to find specific things, and if you're someone who's renting a specific parking space and looking for available parking, you want to search for that specific thing. And then this is the one that closely correlates to our application, which is the real estate agency. The reason why is because the real estate agent facilitates the communication between people who actually have property to buy or rent, to sell or lease, and then people who are looking for this property, which is to buy or rent the property. So in our case, this is, instead of the property, it's basically the parking spaces. Then, as I mentioned, this is the system matrix. We have our metaphors on the top and the attributes. The attributes are selected based on each metaphor. So for instance, paid parking has payment functionality up here, and we did this for all of the metaphors, and then we ranked them from 0 to 10, where 0 is basically the lowest and 10 being the highest. After that, we tallied up the totals and we came up with these totals at the bottom. So as you can see, paid parking and real estate agency have the highest totals. However, we didn't neglect the other metaphors. So for instance, GPS would be a core function of our application. So in the sense that we have navigation. So it's quite useful to actually look into that. And then we created the 4 key objects. So what this actually is basically the metaphors again, And then we have each object that's basically the top 4 highest ranked ones from the previous slide. So in this case, it would be the ability to rent, provides payment, keeps track of time, and maybe leasing a property. So as you can see there, and then we did the same principle basically for the other metrics. After that, we created one for our parking agency. It goes from leasing all the way to emergency services. So these are the components that we found. So that found were useful for our application in the sense that leasing would be a core function, whereas emergency services is more of a nice to have feature. So we ranked it and prioritized them. So as you can see, leasing would need to be done before we do actual emergency services. And then these were used for our themes and our user stories, and it allowed us to actually develop the sprints based on these actual objects. I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to hand over to Narnik, who will talk to you about the PSC intro.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Manal. As Manal just pointed out, the main metaphor that describes our application is the parking agency. So I'm going to quickly go through the Pearson triangle to show you how our MVP evolved during each of the 4 sprints. So as we said, open parking is a parking agency. So in sprint 1, we added in the leasing and the search functionality. That turned our app into a parking agency that allows people to search for a listed parking space or listed parking spaces. During sprint 2, we added in the renting functionality, and our app became a parking agency that allows people to rent listed parking spaces that have been searched for by the user. During sprint 3, we added in the navigation functionality, and our application became a parking agency that allows people to navigate to a parking space that they have rented. And finally, during sprint 4, we added in time logs and emergency contacts. Therefore, our final MVP was that open parking is a parking agency that allows people to navigate to a parking space that they have rented for a specific duration and to contact emergency services if desired. You will see that the themes are directly related from the 4 key objects. As I just said, our minimum viable project was developed from this, and then our final minimum viable product is, as I said, a parking agency that allows people to navigate to a listed parking space that they have rented for a specific duration and to contact emergency services if desired. So I will now take you through to the business plan, but before that I need to point out that due to time constraints and unforeseen circumstances, we were unable to fully implement a rating system, and we were not able to implement payment within the app. Those are real world problems. The business plan, firstly, our revenue stream, our costs. These are hypothetical costs, and first of all, we base the developer salary on the average developer salary. We did some research on that. So we have 6 developers, and for 1 month duration, which is how long this project was, it came to 120,000 Rand. Factoring in the cost of equipment, which includes the cost of hiring and such, that was 5,000 Rand. And then the Google Play Store fee came to 350 Rand. So for 1 month, the subtotal was 125,000 Rand at 350. We estimated 6 months to get the MVP to its completion stage and launching it on the Google Play Store. So factoring in that 6 months, the developer salary becomes 600,000 Rand, and then the total for the entire project would come to 725,000 Rand, 350. These are all hypothetical costs. Our revenue stream, obviously we do need to generate income somehow, and Syntax Solutions hopes to generate or will generate revenue through the commission that it obtains from connecting the parking space owners to the parking space leases. This commission should come from the Google Play Store. And after that, our marketing strategy. First of all, we will be giving our key partner, OpenBox Software, a 10% share of the profit. profits that is generated from this business venture. And in terms of distribution channel, as I previously stated, we will be making the application available on the Google Play Store. And lastly, advertising. To make people aware of this application, our main forms of advertising will firstly be social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Word of mouth, we're hoping people will tell each other about the app. We have an invitation functionality within the app where users can invite friends. And then lastly, our Kickstarter campaign to raise funds. We're hoping to also bring awareness via that. And after this, I will now do a quick SWOT analysis of our project, which was developed throughout the entire project lifecycle. First of all, our strengths is a collaborative team effort. We have very good communication channels in place, and we have a sufficient distribution of skills amongst the team members. Some of the weaknesses that we found is that we were lacking a strong developer, that is to say someone with ComSci experience, but I'm sure you'll see when we come to the demo, our two main dev guys did an awesome job making up for that. We have a lack of experience with Agile development methodologies. This is the first time we're working in this environment. And then we have a lack of funding, which is always a problem. Our opportunities were that we could develop an MVP that would attract investment into having it built into a fully functioning application. And we are providing a solution to a prevalent societal problem, which is a lack of parking. Our traits were an unstable or unreliable developing platform. MIT did prove to have quite a few challenges. We were using an experimental database, and we had some infrastructure problems, power outages and such, and then we had social unrest during Sprint 4, which was the national food protest. That's about the SWOT analysis. I will now hand over to Amanda to take you through the Kickstarter campaign.
Thank you, Laura. Morning, everyone. I will be discussing the Kickstarter campaign and thereafter the sprint retrospective. The Kickstarter campaign aims to motivate individuals to contribute funding towards the open parking mobile application. The goal is $53,000 US, which is equivalent to 725,000 Rand, as mentioned by Laura previously. To start off, I'm going to play a short video to set the scene and give you a snippet of what the app has to offer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. explain the Kickstarter campaign. Hit the road and drive away from all your parking woes for good. About this project, I've got 99 problems and parking is one. From as early as the 1800s, there's been a shortage of parking, particularly in urban areas. This is a picture of back then. Almost 3 centuries later, this problem still exists. This is now. However, we have a solution. Syntax Solution presents open parking. This is an Android application that will eliminate your parking problems at the click of a button. So how does it work? Open parking facilitates the communication between the renter and the lessor. The Android application allows the individual to be a renter, a lessor, or both. Download the application from the Google Play Store and get booking. Open parking provides the following benefits. There's accessible and convenient parking for a renter, a safe and reliable means for the lessor, and GPS to enable speedy identification of the desired locations. Invest today, and here's why. Our app addresses a daily problem faced by numerous motorists. Open parking has a guaranteed market. And lastly, our app is a winner. Invest now and reap the rewards. As with any app, there are risks and challenges. And some of the risks and challenges include it can't be incorporated anywhere and has to be tailored for high traffic zones near residential areas. Secondly, controlling the usage of listed parking spaces. It may be difficult to ensure that only the renters who have booked a space are the ones who are able to use it for the desired time. And lastly, in the event that renters violate the terms of use, the costs incurred of removing a vehicle may be very high. However, the risks and challenges identified will be dealt with accordingly, and Syntax Solutions guarantees that the benefits are much greater than the risks. And in the event that any of you would like to provide funding, we have our business cards, so feel free to contact us and make generous donations. I will now be discussing the sprint retrospective. Some of the challenges are similar throughout the sprints, so I'll just highlight the key ones and the lessons learned. The first challenge that we experienced was that it was very difficult to schedule a meeting with OpenBox software, and that we were still attending lectures, therefore the time that we had to understand the domain was very limited. The lessons that we learned were that when plans are made, we should always leave extra time in case there are issues. In Sprint 1, the challenges that we faced were the migration of MIT to Ed's account was an issue as we were struggling to access the databases. This needed to be fixed before Sprint 2, so we felt under pressure. The second challenge was that MIT is not very user-friendly. It's a very slow application and has limited functionality. The third challenge was that MIT emulator barely works. And lastly, the power failures in the Hamilton building reduced progress. Unfortunately, ESCOM didn't help us out much in that regard. The lessons learned in this sprint were that we need to manage expectations. We underestimated the time that it would take to produce certain user stories, and then we also learned that we need to try and prioritize the core functions of the application. The second sprint was that we could no longer use MIT simultaneously. Work was being lost, therefore it increased the number of projects that we had. Secondly, the code needed to be transferred manually from one project to another project, which is extremely time consuming. Thirdly, MIT crashed often and required immense bandwidth speeds. And lastly, MIT provided limited design functionality. The lessons that we learned were that MIT has a limitation of 10 screens, and after that, no support is provided. The main challenge of the Sprint 3 was that we were unable to meet with the project sponsors again. And the lessons that we learned is that time is crucial and delays always reduce the progress that is made. And also that our team lacked experienced developers, but our team tried the best to get the work done, as you will see in the demo. In Sprint 4, the main challenge that we faced was that we could not provide a proper demo as we had limited bandwidth, and also the protests delayed our progress. And the main lesson that we learned was that we need to focus on the stability of the application rather than usability. The Sprint retrospective, there are screenshots in the main domain document, however we're just going to highlight the main one here. In Sprint 1, there was much progress, as you can see, as we completed most of the user stories. In Sprint 2, the velocity decreased as we were now carrying over some items from Sprint 1 to Sprint 2. In Sprint 3, we managed to increase our velocity and caught up on the work that was behind. However, Sprint 4, due to the protests, our progress decreased immensely. However, we managed to provide what we need to provide for today. I will now hand over to Keke and Dylan, who will show us a demo of the application.
Amanda. So it's just about showtime. As soon as we're up on that projector. So what we're going to show you is our application and just some of the main things that can be done in the app. So what we're going to start off with is registering a new user. So assuming that it's your first time here, you'll click sign up. And while Dill is filling out his details, I'll just run you through some of the validations that we have. So at the email validation, we do have some validations to check that it is a proper email address, @ and dot, etc. And also we do check that no duplicates are put into the database. So if we already have that email address registered, then it won't let him sign up. Then we also have the password validations, which he's doing now. So make sure that the same password is typed in twice, just to make sure that the user is certain about their password. And then finally we have a phone number validation to make sure that it is a 10-digit South African phone number. So once he hits sign up, he'll be met with the terms and conditions screen. Once it loads, there we go. So the user can then read through that, which is posted online, and Spukazi will later go through the full help manual. But for now, we'll click accept and go straight into the application. So first of all, what he's going to do is list a parking space. So he'll click the list space button, where now we grab the many details of the parking space. Unfortunately, App Inventor or MIT isn't so great with grabbing the location quickly, so he'll just fill out the rest of the details and try grab the location after that. The preferred vehicle he's just selected is the largest size vehicle that parking space can hold. Obviously the type of space, lawn, just implies that it's a lawn, and then we can set the number of spaces and the price. And then of course any additional information that the person might want to add, such as CCTV. And we did fear that this might happen, but it usually works after a couple of tries.
Okay. It's fine.
Okay. Unfortunately, there we go. Okay, so that parking space has now been listed, and we'll now go into the user profile where you can add a vehicle. This is now for anyone who decides to park at a spot. They need to register their vehicle so that the person who owns the parking spot knows which vehicle is coming to park in their place. So Dylan's now just going to register a parking spot. The only validations on this page are that all the details have to be filled in. Unfortunately, we can't really validate too much on anything else because of custom number plates and naked models being a range of things. So once he registers that vehicle, it'll take us back to the user profile, and we'll see that that vehicle now pops up. So next up, he's just going to edit some of his details. So he can change his name, for example. And once he's done doing that, it'll update the screen, or click Save Changes, and then we'll update the screen with the new name, and that is also reflected in the database. Then we also have some emergency buttons at the bottom of the screen. So if he clicks one of those, it immediately starts calling AAA, either an ambulance or the police, which we don't want to do right now. And, and then finally we can also share the application. So this is how we would essentially let users invite their friends to the app. So he simply clicks the share icon up at the top, and it asks which application he wants to use. So he'll send me a message, and that message would obviously have
Sorry. Too quick. Yeah.
So that message, once the app is actually published, then we'll just insert the URL right down there. Thanks, still. Now what we're going to do is go to the My Listed Spaces, where we can see all of the parking spaces that have been listed by this user and change any details if necessary. So that's the one Dylan just created a couple minutes ago. So it will pull all the details of that space, and then he can simply make any change he wishes, and then that'll be saved as soon as he clicks the update button. So now what we're going to do is log out and log in as another user who we've set up already, and the next process is going to involve booking that actual parking spot. Just give it a second to log in. So this will now show the searching functionality. So he's going to type in Grahamstown. Alternatively, he could have clicked on one of those buttons, Cape Town, Joburg, etc. And he'll find the parking spot that was just listed earlier. So it gives us the details of that parking spot and allows him to obviously book it. So he can set his date, the start time, end time. And I believe he should have at least one vehicle registered already. Yes. So once you hit the book button, it will save all that data, and then it requires the user to then send an email to the actual owner of that parking spot, which gives the owner all the details of the proposed booking. So next up, Dill's just going to show you our help function, that question mark at the top, which opens up onto our help website, which just gives the user any information about whichever page they're currently on. It's supposed to. If it doesn't work now, Supukazi will take us through using the help manual a bit later. Then this takes you through to the help manual, which the user can read if they're stuck with any problems. So if we go back to the app, we want to now show a situation where the user may want to actually change the details of the booking they've made. So they can go to My Bookings and then select the booked, but it's fine. It should work, yeah. So as you can see, this one already has some details, but if we want, we can change any of the details. Validations there on the time to make sure that the times are actually feasible. And then he'll hit Save Changes. And then this will again ask the user to send an email notification to the owner of the parking space, just to let them know that the booking has been changed. If we go back, we can also go to the top of the screen and get the directions for this particular parking space. So this will pull the directions and then open up Google Maps. And then from here, the user can start the navigation to that actual parking space. Not very far away. Finally, we can also rate a parking space. So right at the top there, he'll select his rating. That should have updated the rating space. Unfortunately, we've had a small error there. But otherwise, that brings us to the end of the demo of the application. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I will take you through the user manual Basically, the group, we decided as a group to create a user manual that is a website. So this is the website. You can see the logo, Open Parking. And the user can navigate through the entire website either using the top menu bar or click on one of these bars there. If they want to find out more about the app, they will find on about the app. It's basically what Manuel earlier mentioned, how the whole system came about in terms of the reasons behind the system. And then if they scroll down, they can view the team members and their contributions to the entire process of building the app. If they want to contact the team members, they can contact us by sending us a message here or visiting us at Hamilton, which is there in the map, or sending us an email. If they are stuck on the app, they can, on sign up, they can view, sign up, basically sign up, they have 6 steps to guide them through the entire process. As shown earlier on, that they need to actually understand everything because of the validations within the sign-up process. So these steps takes them through what they need to avoid to make the process easier. If they want to learn more about listing a parking, there are basically 5 processes, steps they can go through. Between each step, the user is given 10 seconds to read through. If for whatever reason they were late on reading whatever step they were, they can always go back from the bottom to the previous one they want. The last process is the main one of the entire app, which is the booking process. It's quite lengthy and detailed for the user's benefit. Basically, it starts from when they're on home screen, when they want to search, all to the way when they want to actually book, and when they want to update their details or make a cancellation. The last bit I'll mention is the terms and conditions, which were opened earlier by the Demerin team. The user needs to accept the terms and conditions in order to proceed with the app. So our terms and conditions are very lengthy, but for the user's benefit, they need to read through and know what they're liable to. Basically, that's everything about the user manual and our presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Just before we start the questions, I'd just like to ask you, I think for the other examiners, I'm well aware of all of the different aspects that you guys used in your projects, but I don't think the other examiners necessarily know, you've spoken about your lessons learned from your backlog, from your sprints, but there was no indication given of how you managed those sprints. So can you possibly just show them what a backlog looks like so they understand how you manage your sprints? And the other thing was, perhaps you could have explained a little bit about what actually the system metaphor and the 4 key objects exercise was used for, because you showed what it was, but I'm not sure if the other examiners know what purpose it served. If you could make that a little bit more clear. And then also, in terms of your apps, I know you all slated MIT App Inventor, but I don't think the other examiners are also aware of all the technology that's being integrated there. You showed a bit of Google Maps and things like that, but you never explained that you're using cloud-based services or the Google services and what aspects of that you use. So if you could just give a brief overview of that to the other examiners. And I understand it's not just that little app you're showing on the phone there, that you've actually integrated all these cloud services. So just to clarify that a little bit, please. Anything else you want to clarify? Nicely done. Okay, so we just want to see some of the tools that you use, basically, because we only see the app and you don't realize everything else that's behind the scenes.
Sorry, you weren't quite prepared to show all of that.
No, sure.
I'll be working now.
We've got some
Let's
time.
open-
Very briefly, you don't have to dwell on it, but just explain
Just to explain.
what it was and how it was used.
Yes, especially the metaphors. I'm keen to see how you use the metaphors. I mean, you don't even have to show, just explain, you know.
So as I mentioned, we have these metaphors which are paid parking, the free parking space, the GPS, the search engine, the real estate agency.
What is a metaphor in the sense of this? If you can explain that to me.
So a metaphor basically is an easy to understand term that we can explain our system. So for instance, I can use real estate agency if that's okay for you.
Yeah.
So basically, a real estate agent is basically there to try and facilitate communication between people who have property to sell and people who actually have property to buy or want to buy property. So basically, in terms of our application, instead of the property, it'll be people selling parking spaces and people trying to rent parking spaces. So basically, that's the metaphor we're trying to use, is where a real estate agent is what our application basically does. Does that clarify?
But then how did you come up with this? It's based on the,
It's based on our own perspective of what we think.
of the problem issue.
Yes.
So maybe if I can clarify for the examiners just briefly, you've got to find the metaphors that help you to visualize what the components are that you're trying to solve in your problem. And so you use metaphors as thinking tools to try and see which are the important parts associated with this process that I need to solve.
And then basically these are the components that we found would be useful for the to actually provide a solution.
So looking at all those metaphors.
Those eureka moments when you say, oh, that's what you call a parking agency.
And
Yeah.
then you take those leasing, search, renting, and you develop,
This PSN kind
but you develop
the
code or application functionality. around
the
it.
functionality, yes.
Okay.
And then basically, as you can see here, okay, log in and sign up one part of the themes, but we have leasing. So basically, these actually present the themes for each user story that we're going to actually produce. So we've got leasing, we've got booking. So basically, it's all of these ones that were mentioned here were part of the themes that we actually created user stories for.
So for each sprint, you would start with a basic idea or functionality, and then each sprint you add.
Just carry on.
You add functionality.
So as I mentioned, like for instance, we did leasing, searching for sprint 1, and then for sprint 2, we developed it and we added renting to the application, and then the next one we'll add navigation, and then so on and so forth. So basically, we're getting the core functionality first, and then thereafter we'll do the nice to have features. Does that clarify?
And then just show the backlog and tell them how that functions.
So the backlog basically, we had to change the settings. We had, I'm not sure if you can see it in there. So basically up there, that's 7,000 Rand a day, we estimated roughly. And we said that each person can do one velocity per day. So there's 6 team members, so that makes 6 velocity points per day. And then we assigned a point to each user story. So for instance, for sign up, we said it will take approximately 1 velocity point. That's 1 day approximately to actually complete it. And then we did the same thing, and then we color coded it. So basically, the colors depict the sprints that we actually put each backlog in. So for instance, we have blue, which is the sprint 1 items that we're going to do in sprint 1. So you can see the sign up, log in, and part of leasing for sprint 1. Then for sprint 2, we did the additional part of leasing. So basically we added additional features to that leasing thing, specifying the terms of agreement and that kind of stuff. And then similar concepts for the rest of the backlog. And then these are the sprints. So we assigned, these are the things that we actually wanted to get done for each sprint. So that.
Yeah, so I'm just interested in how you recorded the activities. Did you first do the sprint and then afterwards record how things evolved, or did you say I'm predicting I'm going to enter all of this and then you did the sprint, or how did
We predicted based on the, Lauren.
because there's like entering of data at that point.
So we have these MVPs, which are the minimum viable products, right? These are the ones we determined before we actually did the sprints. This is what we expected to do for each sprint. So MVP 1 was what we're going to do for the first sprint. So here we focused on people being able to search and list the parking space. And then thereafter we created the sprints based on the MVPs that we created.
But obviously for each sprint you need to enter data, some figures.
Some figures.
Do you do that after you did the sprint, or did you do it before you
That's
started?
before we did the sprint.
Before, okay, so
Because it's settings for the entire backlog, and then thereafter it calculates.
and did you revise after the sprint to see if
Yes, we did, because we weren't able to do certain things that we expected, and we had to change things. And then there's the burn down chart, which Amanda described, which is automatically calculated for you,
based on the data?
based on the data that we put and what it completed. And then, as she mentioned, we went up and then went down because we weren't able to actually complete all the things from sprint 1, so we had to do it in sprint 2, which kind of reduced our velocity for sprint 2. Does that clarify?
Yeah. Because what I'm asking is that obviously there's a creativity and innovation phase happening where you just kind of forget about the technical stuff. I mean, the entering of data, you just try and develop this thing in a creative way.
Yeah.
So I was trying to just see where that happens, you know.
So that's how we came up with the proposed solution, by using the system metaphors, the 4 key objects, the PSN triangle. Thereafter, we developed the application. And obviously, we had to change things around, because all the things we did were theoretical, and we wanted to actually be sure exactly how they actually fit.
Okay.
And then in terms of MIT,
Yeah, just show them just briefly what that looks like.
Okay, so over here, this is the interface that you look at when you have a look at MIT. Just start off, please bear with me, it might crash while we just demo this. So you'll go into your first project, and MIT will set a number of your screens. And then MIT codes, rather than writing C# or any kind of code like that, you use Scratch. So you have your design for your screen here, and then you move into the blocks. So over here, go through. So this over here shows you how you'll build up your code. It can be quite difficult at times to use it. Sometimes it doesn't make much sense.
So those are like Lego pieces sitting on the floor, and
Yes.
you're having to build them and put them into the right place.
Like that.
Yeah.
So you will pick it apart, put it together, and it even makes it click when it comes in. It's for a development such as this, it's an added tool to use because it allows you to build an application very quickly. Even though it does have some issues, quite a few limitations, and it's somewhat unstable, it is very quick. And so the 4 or 5 weeks that we were given to build an app, to use a development environment such as Xamarin, which is a Android development tool, it would take months to do what we've done here in 5 weeks.
and each of those like collection of blocks would be like a metaphor. Or can you link that?
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, back to the designer and show the things on the left, how it's
The screen's more like the
It's
metaphor.
more about the design of the
Yeah.
interface.
Well, the screen's kind of the metaphor and then the code behind to accomplish that metaphor. But you can use that metaphoric approach actually to develop your code blocks or what your code blocks should be doing. We didn't go to it in that depth.
So metaphors would be associated to functionality, while this is associated to the interface design.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's MIT. Then it has an emulation tool. So over here, you would just connect up to there we go. So you would just take your Android device, you'd have an MIT companion application on your Android device, you'd scan the QR code there, and then it would run the emulator, and you'd come up with your app here. That emulator generally works for a little bit, and then it crashes, and then you would have to just reset the emulator and reconnect to carry on testing. And once you have finished with your development, you come here to click build. I shouldn't have done that. Click build, and then it builds the APK for you, which then stores in a QR code, scan the QR code, and download it from down and build. So this is how it will build the app for you, and then you just scan it with any kind of QR device, scanning device in your Android phone, and it will install. So that's that. As we did say, it is limited to 10 screens, but there is a variety of things you can use. I'm going to take okay. Yeah. So a lot of our data had to be stored somewhere, and instead of getting buying a server and something like that, considering every other part of our project has been about open source software, the database was no exception. So Google has developed something they call Fusion Tables. Essentially, it's a database. It's in its experimental phase at the moment, so they're not finished. But it is essentially just a database that stores your data from MIT or from any place you decide to upload it. It's very easy to use, very quick. It doesn't require that much coding to get through. It's fairly secure. It can only be seen if you share it with individuals. It's got all of Google security behind it, so there's no real worry of your data being stolen.
It lives on Google Drive.
Yeah.
It's just a shared format.
Yeah. So we store it in our Google Drive and then share it through Google Drive. The other thing we use to just monitor how we went about our actual development and our meetings and everything like that was through another open a free tool called Trello. Trello essentially creates cards where you can store your meetings, minutes, in fact pretty much store anything that you've done so far. And then you can add users along to it. So we would store in our sprint, we had problem statement, MVP, system metaphor, and in sprint 0 we aligned myself and Manil to problem statement. And you would do that. And so you can drag the cards all over the place, and then as we got into the development of the app, we started pulling in progress. We put things in progress and then move them to testing phase and funding to the completed stage. And we run that along. Our fixes, we sit in here. Once we completed them, move them across here. And then, because we had to work in multiple different projects within MIT because of the whole limitation of working on one account, we'd set up which screens were the correct ones we were using, and then we'd stick them in here. And so we'd know when we actually came together and built the entire thing and put it together, what we needed to move across.
So what is the fix it would be?
The fixes are issues we had with the code. So any problems, if you have a look at here, completed fixes, this spaces screen, move current location button in line with location field. So that was just a small design fix. It was something that needed to be looked at, so we just put it in fixes, and once we've done that, we moved it across to completed fixes.
And you could have multiple people working on multiple fixes?
Yes. Cool.
And at what point did you actually design the screen, the interface of the app?
Well, it was pretty hard to read.
Okay, so it was also like part of the script?
Yeah, pretty much. We started off initially with a whole bunch of designs for screens, just a couple. I think we had about 6 different screens we designed, which we came up with our first presentation for through a site called Ninjabomb, also a free thing. And that was just to show what we were hoping the app would look like. In our domain document, we've actually got what on screens what we were hoping the app would look like, but due to the limitations of MIT App Inventor, we were unable to implement those screens as they were, and therefore we just left that in Ninjabomb and developed the app as you saw today.
Thank you, very good.
What testing did you do?
Right. We actually had, we split the team up into we split the entire team up into 3 different teams. We had a lead dev team, a designing team, and finally a testing team. Manil and Laura were our testers. And so they, as soon as we had built something, they would immediately throw it into a test. I think it was both white box and black box testing. And there are a whole bunch, if Manil just wants to show you the test cases. So we'll show you the final document and then that'll...
I suggest you all get familiar what testing was done.
So,
I suggest you all get familiar with what testing you did.
I believe it was white box and black box.
No, I'm just saying you must all get familiar with
Oh.
it.
Oh, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
That's all I'm telling
Okay,
you.
so as you can see here, there are a variety of tests that took place.
Yeah, lovely.
Now.
we did test cases for each sprint, so
Yeah.
basically we evolved as certain screens got added and we just added to certain things. Certain things we weren't able to do, so for
Yeah,
instance,
lovely.
like the failure, but that was due to certain things like payment or any other limitations we had in the development environment.
Documentation is good. Just all of you read the documentation.
Thank you very much. I think this was very important because I enjoyed your presentation, so this doesn't
It's
detract from your
fantastic,
presentation.
yeah.
That was nice and it was succinct. But I wanted you to also bring out how much stuff went on in the background and how you accomplished that work. Because else that doesn't get seen and the examiners are not aware of the fact that you had all of these different tools, you worked in all of these different circumstances. And so you need to actually express your work to show what was done to accomplish what you showed at the end. So that was very important. And I know you all complained about MIT App Inventor, but you also needed to bring out what the advantages were. Because in 3.5 weeks, to pull off what you did is a fantastic job. Also, part of the exercise here was to prove that you can do something without incurring any cost. And so what cost did you actually incur other than your time? None. So all of those tools allowed you to develop an app that you can now put up on the web and develop further or raise funding for without spending a cent.
Yeah,
Which
for
was
me,
part
it's,
of the exercise.
it's amazing how you guys managed to put all the open source tools in, you know, like Google Drive and MIT, just to kind of come up with something